Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. My dad's making pancakes downstairs for dinner.
I am jealous.
I was about to say the
Well,
same thing. Just so jealous.
I I guess you guys won't let me go first and then leave so I can have them hot, huh?
You do you. I'm just here to listen.
Oh my gosh, iconic.
I'm not going to start video, and hopefully you all can hear me okay. I'm on conference Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
So far, so good.
you're good.
Cool. I'll give folks another minute or two here to join.
What conference? And he's gone.
It's the Open Source Summit in Vancouver.
Oh, right, Snap. Yes, that thing that I really wished I could have been at. I was telling, I was talking with Sarah Novotny earlier this week, and I would have much rather been up there instead of the internal Google Summit that I was at, and she kind of wanted to be at the Google Summit. Although she got to announce a cool thing up there, and I got to blog about the cool thing, so yay.
Yeah, it's a very cool thing.
I just got out of the first meeting of people excited to do the work, so look forward to more of that. But I think the short, unsurprising version is I think we all collectively agree that it's more worth focusing on the lower level infrastructure, especially stuff related to releasing. Stuff related to testing and automation of the project will take a little bit more time to do. And by a little bit, we're talking on the order of months.
Yeah, I definitely don't see this as something instant that's going to take time.
Yeah.
All right, I think I want to go ahead and get started. We've got probably a critical mass of folks on the line. As always, this is being recorded. It's a community meeting. I will be posting it to YouTube right after we are done, so be excellent people, as I know you are. So we are going to focus on issues first because Guinevere has delicious hot pancakes waiting to have breakfast.
It's dinner actually.
Or dinner. Yeah, what am I thinking? I'm ready for breakfast. I'm hearing pancakes and thinking
All right. So we've had compared to the previous weeks, quite a few more bugs come in. All of the ones except for one that are coming in are people are super on top of it. One of them actually opened and closed while I was watching it. So with the pull request and everything, so that's pretty good. There is one, I color-coded the pull requests now. The red ones basically mean red status. The green ones have an open pull request and are actively being worked on. I had to escalate in a couple on one of them, and then that is the 64788. And somebody said they will work on it. That's a critical urgent, and apparently it is now being worked on. It just escaped notice, so I'm glad I raised awareness on that. Then there is a new one that just popped up today that's awaiting triage. That's 68115. I reminded SIG leads that code freezes next week. So if this is urgent, then I want to see, no, sorry. Oh, yeah. If that is urgent, then I want to see some action on it. I don't know that I shouldn't have put that into critical urgent. I'm sorry. I'll redo that after the meeting. And then I have one candidate that hasn't seen any action since June 64530, and it's priority important soon. So I again reminded people on the issue, and I might escalate to Slack. If I don't see any action on it, it would get kicked out. The only other one that I'm kind of worried about is 65392 right above it. Because there seems to be a lot of discussion going on, and I don't really see a whole lot of result fomenting out of it. Update on 66376, Aaron. Thank you. Those tests are now, well, thank you. I mean, thank you for passing along the message. Those tests are officially failing, but I'm just bringing them up because they're still labeled as a bug. That's sort of outside of my purview. And then we have one. All right. And then we have one issue that I think literally just got closed. Yeah. So we're good on that. That was closed since I looked at it last time. The no priority one. So that one is all good, and that's resolved. That's from last week. Okay, so I see a lot of action overall. I'm not too worried. There's a couple of critical issues that I'm going to keep a closer eye on.
Yeah, I don't see anything particularly like horribly worrying in there. The one you called out for the active discussion on the his taints for shutdown, I think, was the kind of topic. And attach, detach.
Yeah.
That one, there's a lot of discussion there, and some of that discussion goes back a long time as well. So I would not be surprised if that did not land.
Right. In fact, somebody just commented 2 minutes ago, do we want to fix this for 112? So.
Yeah, I think like want versus can with the runway remaining, we'll see.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion, and
now's the time where the discussion turns into can we make it or not.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for the update. We'll keep an eye on those. And it's also a little heartening to see that we are getting a little bit higher issue volume right now. It's still extremely low, but it's a good sign that people are paying a little bit more attention on things right now, starting to look and record things as opposed to just, I've got 3 months and I'll get a PR in there somewhere.
One thing that I've been a little bit concerned about is that the issue that I saw open today basically had somebody say, hey, SIG lead, can we triage this? Which is following, this is just kind of process observed in the wild. And I like that happened, right? Pinging SIG leads, hey, can we triage this into possibly the milestone? It was labeled with a milestone by the PR creator, but the triage on how critical this is was asked from the SIG leads. But that is not an established process we have, even though I think it's a good one, potentially. We need to figure out how we triage these things and how we notify and put them in, whether something goes in a milestone or not. It's currently we're, I think, reshaping that process, and it's not clear.
It's highly subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the communication path, I feel like, is less clear. And not that it was super effective, but going back quite a few months, we had more of the Google groups where, from a release team perspective, you could say, or not the Google groups, the GitHub teams, where you could say SIG-Fu reviewers, SIG-Fu what bugs, could y'all take a look at this? Not that led to human eyes seeing it necessarily, because people filter so much of those types of notifications, but if there were 20 people on the list, maybe one of them would notice and something would kind of happen. But the process was lossy before, and we haven't improved it by removing those groups that were unused, but we still have to figure out some way of facilitating that communication.
For what it's worth, like those, many of those teams still exist. I don't think too many SIGs, if any, aside from SIG testing, went through and removed any of the GitHub teams. So go ahead and ping them, see what happens. Maybe they're still actually paid attention to. I'd love to see a signal on whether or not people use those. What we nuked were the Google groups because I don't think anybody uses those mailing lists.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or that's what we guessed.
So what's the actual bot command to notify the group?
So you at Kubernetes /sigfoo - usually I do sigfoo - test failures if it's a test failure, or sigfoo - PR reviews if they need to take a look at a PR, or you can try sigfoo - bugs. Yeah, it's just a mention. So that's what I've done. That's what I codified in the CI signal guide for what it's worth. I personally didn't see a whole bunch of responsiveness from that. As a human being, had to go stalk people to really get a response. But
I feel like a few of them, maybe Node and storage, that worked, and others it was maybe a first ping that failed and then follow on with other things. But yeah, if I was thinking that we got rid of those, so if with those still there, it's definitely worth giving them a try. All right, thank you, Gwen. Oh, and a reminder, if you're about to drop off, Monday, holiday, no meeting. Okay, so then let's transition from there into CI signal. A lot has happened this week. We had a lot of additional failures, and a lot of things have actually gotten fixed as well, and we have some fixes known in flight. But Mohammed, what would you like to say? Any specific failures where you need help getting attention?
Not right now, because I'm definitely getting good responses now, especially after I started not just pinging on the channel, but also pinging them by PMing them and stuff. So right now, as far as I can see, while there are a lot of considerable amount of failures left, there are most of them have fixes in progress. Like they're a move to fix it. I'm definitely tracking them, and I'm definitely pinging them. But of course, like I can only cover my time zone, so please guys go ahead and try to cover our time. And I'm also trying to get more help. Like there are a couple of guys who are interested to contribute to Kubernetes, so I've told them to hop in and try to help me out, ping people and stuff as well. So yeah, I'm doing what I can. So issues are up, and I'm also going to I think what this is something that needs to be even documented. So I'm definitely looking to raise a PR to the CI signal playbook to add the fact that ping people personally and all that stuff. And also something that is missing is while I took the format for the issues from Aishwarya from the 111, there's not strictly documented like the information that should be there inside the issues. So I'm going to update that as well. So that's what I'm looking at. But current CI signal status is, I would say, yellow red. It is based on the test, it is red, but fact that there are fixes in flight makes it a sort of yellowish red. So yeah.
So are there actually fixes in flight for the scalability things? I saw a ping about like quota issues, but I haven't seen any action on that.
I have the.
Is that the one with the 5,000 nodes?
I think so. I mean, both of the scalability tests fail
actually,
performance and correctness, right?
Actually, let me drop this one right here. There was a bug issue related to that, and that was being actively worked on and closed this week. PR is linked in the issue.
Okay, but the the correctness and performance tests are still failing in scalability.
I plan to go ahead and ping them some more. Okay. That will be that I want to get that done. So there are a couple of things for which we are getting good responses, but there are also things where I have to actually go and pester people to get things, and that's a little bit painful.
Okay.
And the Scale folks, they should have a little more overlap with you time-wise, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
one thing that I would really ask at the end of your day, if you can drop a message in Slack saying, hey, folks, for issue X, I could use help pinging folks X, Y, and Z. For this other issue, I could use somebody to try and run down these other people. So if you give a couple of explicit issues and who is next in line to try to reach out to help for, then we can do that. With if it's not explicit, it's hard for us to know we've got to go troll through all of the open failing tests and current status on test grid and try to re-triage. So any triage that you've done, if you capture that into sort of a message to us, then we can continue on with it explicitly.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. I think that's something that needs to be done as well. Definitely.
Mohammed, again, I'm sorry if I'm asking this again. Is there a spreadsheet where you have the title of the issue and then the issue, the bug ID itself? It's kind of, at least for me, it's tough for me to find the tracking bug for each failure.
Yeah, there is actually a sheet.
Okay, then can you please share it in the chat or in the Slack channel?
Yeah.
Thank you.
How are we feeling about the upgrade tests?
Upgrade tests, they are getting better, but like I said, there are fixes in flight. I would say right now the most troubling issue for me would be the QVDM stuff, which is failing for a while, and there have been repeated attempts to fix that, but not fix it. It's still going on.
So I feel somewhat comfortable on the QVideo ones, but Lubomir, is there anything that you would say there with respect to the stuff you have in flight?
I can share my screen quickly if you want to explain something.
Sure.
Actually, it's disabled. I cannot share. Anyway, I wanted to say that if you go to release master blocking, we are deprecating the kubeadm GC self-hosting tests. This one in particular, it's a feature that kubeadm no longer supports. And the other one is kubeadm GC. Now this is problematic. I kind of fixed the Kubernetes Anywhere issue that was underlying with help from Ben from SIG testing. But the problem seems elsewhere because some of the nodes are not ready enough. And I cannot figure out what the problem is. So we have to wait, like I'm probably gonna get more eyes from sequence lifecycle on the kubeadm GC test, but I don't have a solution for that yet.
Yeah, so good question, Aaron. If we are deprecating that, should we be blocking on it? And I would think no.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, it depends on what the deprecation schedule is and what else do we have covering in the same space. Like right now, I'm trying to weigh things that are sort of GCE, GKE specific using the cluster scripts versus the bit of COPS testing and the kubeadm and try to figure out what across those they say on overall upgradability that is, and I don't feel like it's sufficient to say like there is a upgrade path, because if somebody's already starting to rely on kubeadm but that one is seeming a little dodgy right now, or if GKE specific things are giving a heads up on general problems that others are going to potentially have as well. It feels very fuzzy.
All right, I'll look more into it because I'm trying to formalize the talks about what's the justification for stuff being in release master blocking, and I think it does kind of depend upon the deprecation schedule. So I will take a look at that.
Yeah, that would definitely be something nice to have.
My historical context is KubeADM has generally always continuously failed until right before release. It's an anti-pattern, but
Yeah.
it's nothing new. Scalability, same thing. Anti-pattern, but nothing new. Upgrade tests are always the wildest of rides because they usually almost always fail except for a few barren weeks as we focus on them during burn down. So I have massive concerns about the amount of signal here, but it's about the same as it's always been.
Yeah, there's not a lot of signal. The signal gives the impression of unhappiness, but then if all we are focused on during the burn down is those, and we do have a track record of managing to cherry pick things back that fix and get that stabilized at the last minute, that it's not a good pattern, but there's reason to think we could pull that together again. So yeah, well, I was going to also say, so in addition to kind of documenting criteria, process for adding and removing, so it's clear, like if we want to, like historically, I feel like we've decided as a team, okay, we're not going to block on this thing that's in the blocking bucket, but to make a decision on, do we actually remove the test, so that once it goes green at the end of the cycle and it stays green for the first while because everything's happy, that we don't forget about it and don't remove it. Do we actually stop calling it blocking?
So I can explain a little bit about the self-hosting removal in particular. So the feature is not maintained. Nobody uses it. And the test is like red. And even if we fix it somehow, I mean, we probably won't be able to fix it because of the code base is broken right now. And we are removing the code behind the self-hosting feature. So the test is no longer going to work.
Yeah, and then, I mean, it would be silly to leave it there just always red.
Yep.
Okay, I will chase that removing that specific test as an action item. And yeah, I'm behind a couple docs, but I will see where I can get with this specific doc on criteria for blocking tests, process for promotion, process for removal, roadmap in between, same thing for pre-submits, blah, blah, blah.
Aaron, you had a doc on this, right? Long time ago.
I did, but the thing is, it's now out of date. The thresholds that were mentioned in it no longer apply because time has passed. So I kind of need to revisit it, and then I need to figure out who I shop it around to make it official policy, whether or not like the steering committee needs to be involved. I don't think they do. The release team definitely does. Does SIG architecture need to be involved? So on and so forth. So I have a pretty good first pass. There's an issue that's been open since November. So there is information there. It's just a matter of like actually finishing it, driving it to completion, and getting everybody to act on it as if it were real, actual policy. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more than happy to help, but yeah, I think you do a better job of like taking the steering committee into architecture and all of that. But more than happy to like get some data or whatever help you need.
I will make sure I run it through you as a reviewer.
Cool. Thanks.
And if we, regardless of where that goes, I guess, if I want to follow it and try and have some discussion at KubeCon around that as well.
We'll see if my talk on that gets accepted or not.
Ah, okay. Well, if not, there's always SIG release deep dive as a place. Okay, continuing backwards then through the agenda doc. Nick could not make it today, but he pinged me earlier today letting me know that he had played around some with HackMD and is liking it, and there's a link there for a draft. He's going to try and use, I think, HackMD for drafting the release notes. Then documentation. Just looking, we do not have docs today. Okay, and feature coverage, also not seeing. Okay, so then that brings us to test infra. Cole, what can you tell us today?
So I did a bunch of experimenting with Tide yesterday in dry run mode. And it does seem to handle the Kubernetes repo properly, with one exception, which is that when we enable it on the same instance with all of the other repos that we're managing as well, we start hitting a GitHub limit that we've never hit before, where they actually limit the number of search results that they're returning to us and just transparently truncate it. So I have a fix that we could implement, and I have another more temporary fix that we could implement to have things working later today. But I've been talking with Steve from Red Hat in the SIG testing chat right now, and it's sounding like it might be preferable just to wait until we have the more permanent fix in, and I don't know that I can finish that in a single day. So it's looking like it would be more optimal to wait to deploy Tide for a few more days at least. How feasible would it be to, instead of deploying Tide like right at the beginning of code freeze, would it be all right to deploy it a few days in and use the submit queue until then?
I have no strong preference as long as we have a mechanism that's enforcing. And I'm pretty. I feel like we're making a lot of changes around mechanism in this release, and that I've kind of always expected that we'd have a few hiccups like this. So I would rather be pragmatic and go ahead and keep moving forward versus one of the other alternatives you didn't mention would be to say, well, let's put this off to the next cycle. I would really prefer to not do that. So if a short-term couple-day compromise is the way we get something better established for the next cycle, I would prefer that.
Well, I would say worst case scenario is that we wait until code thaw to actually switch over to Tide. But I'd like to have Tide running at least a little bit during code freeze. It should be really easy to, especially if we have the submit queue still set up, it should be trivial for me to switch back so that there's no risk of like having merge blocked or anything like that. It's more really a question of, is it okay to minorly change the dev experience? And the experience from a PR shouldn't really change. Like you're still going to see a status will be just like the submit queue. It's more that the submit queue dashboard will be replaced, that kind of thing. But since it's a minor enough UX change, like I personally think that would be fine.
Yeah, I don't have a strong objection there, and also, I mean, it's having some sort of A/B comparison is always nice. So to know that we were successfully moving forward with one thing and switched over to the other, as opposed to having the transitions at the major points, but just within freeze to do a transition and see that freeze was still freeze. I think that's useful information. So yeah, I would say thumbs up for me. Anybody else on the call? Thoughts?
Okay. So
one thing that I would ask though, depending on how it goes and recognizing that Monday is a holiday, if you're not ready earlier on Thursday, I would say maybe don't turn it on Friday.
Sure. Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Yeah, so I'll wait until we have like the full workaround completely implemented. I'll probably have that early next week. The other piece of infra that I've been working on is the plugin to require kind and SIG labels. That's merged and deployed now, but it just needs to be configured. So I'll do that this morning, and we should start having those enforced.
Cool. Any questions from anybody there? I saw eyebrows moving in Sigbeard's window. All right.
No, I'm good. Honestly, I feel like if you and Cole are happy, then I'm happy.
Quick thing, was there going to be a demo after, before Cole, you turn it on, or?
I could do that. I was basically doing a demo myself last night, just running it locally, but I could set that up.
Yeah, even needn't be before you turn it on, but just, yeah.
The demo won't be particularly interesting though, because it's just going to be a bunch of logs.
Or more just a walkthrough of like what happens, what just changed, just so that we can record it and yeah.
Sure.
I can follow up with Cole on that to see if we've got room on SIG testing, SIG contributor experience, and the community meeting. and maybe I can share some of that load.
Yeah, that would be cool. I was also going to say I'll try to describe this in my release update, but yeah, if we could actually show it visually, if we have readiness Thursday next week at the community meeting, that would be an awesome place to do it.
Yeah, like I used to be all ranty that I thought the precondition for switching everything to Tide was to have really awesome docs and then shop it around and do a whole road show and give people a time to prepare for it and then flip the switch. And now we're kind of flipping the switch and then doing that right at about the same time. But again, I trust that you and Cole have enough perspective on stability that if you're confident, I'm confident right along with you. No pressure.
I try to pragmatically submit to fail fast, fix fast as well. That's why I mentioned let's not do it on Friday, but there's always surprises.
I got to run for another meeting. See you guys.
Well, and I think we've hit the end of what I wanted to make sure we discussed. Are there things that anybody else wants to bring up? All right. In that case, reminder, no meeting Monday. We'll have the Europe-Asia friendly time on Tuesday and then Wednesday and Friday next week as well. And I'll be looking to chat with Cole in particular as the weeks go by on Slack and touch base on things and see what we can get into the community meeting hopefully on Thursday as well for heads up to folks. All right, have a great long weekend, everybody who's having a long weekend, and a great weekend otherwise for everyone. Thank you.
Happy weekend.
Guys.
Bye, everyone.